Hello, do you have a fear of having a panic attack when you drive? Many people that I work with online all over the world often say this to me. They say, look, it's not the driving that scares me, I'm fine. It's the thought that I might have a panic attack when I drive and I might start hyperventilating and lose control. That's what gets me. And if I just knew that that wasn't going to happen, I'd be fine. But every time I go out, I start white knuckling and hyperventilating. And it's a bit of a self-defeating cycle. It's like you worry about having a panic attack, so you have a panic attack, and then you worry about having it, then you have it. So in this video, I'm going to give you a case study of somebody I worked with who had this problem. Please understand, it's really common. So if you've got this, don't worry. You might think I'm the only person in the world who's got this. You're not, because I work with many people every year who have this exact problem. So let's get into this case study and let's see exactly what was going on with this client. Just in case you don't normally watch my videos, my name is Paul and I work online helping people all over the world to overcome their fear of driving, whether it's bridges, highways, motorways, busy city centres, whatever it is, night time. I help with all these things. And this client came to me saying they had this classic problem of they can't drive without the fear. And I'm laughing because when you see what this is, it's quite funny, and clients often end up laughing and saying, oh, I know what it is now. So the way you solve the problem is, as I always say in my videos, to understand driving anxiety has nothing to do with driving. The driving is just a symptom, the trigger, and you need to find out what it truly is. So in this client's case, it was the typical thing, like I said, when they went out driving, they were simply worried that they were going to have a panic attack. And they said, look, I keep telling myself over and over, you're not going to have a panic attack. That won't work. You'll know if you've got this, it doesn't work. Anyone can sit there and say to you, oh, driving's very safe. Statistics show this and this. Doesn't do anything. And I'll tell you one thing I often hear, which I would never recommend. Have you ever heard the thing about 5 things you can see, 4 things yeah, you know what I'm saying if you've heard that. What some people will do is they'll say, if you don't know what that is, they'll say this is therapists who they think this is the answer. It's not. Okay, all this does is bodge it up. And what they'll do is they'll tell you, this is often done in CBT, and I don't like to hate on CBT. It can be good for some things, but it doesn't work for driving anxiety. And often what they'll do is teach you how to cope with things rather than fix it. So CBT is sometimes referred to as coping and bodging techniques, because that's often what it does. Not for everything, it has its uses, but for driving anxiety and many other anxieties, they'll tell you this thing, and we'll get back to the story in a moment, but they'll often say, think of 5 things you can see, and with 4 things you can, I don't know, touch or whatever it is. So the idea is when you're driving, you think, oh, I'm going to count 5 things. So I've got the car in front, the bridge, and then you start having a panic attack because the bridge is your trigger. Looking for 5 things and naming 4 other things, and it's something like 3 things you can hear or whatever, 1 thing you can smell, 2 things you can taste or something, and you have to go down this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All that does is it distracts your mind. And if you say, well, that works, it distracts your mind, it might distract you from the problem, it doesn't get rid of it. I don't use those kind of techniques. So what I do is dig down to the root cause in your subconscious, which does not involve anything weird. If you want, you can close your eyes. You don't have to. We don't have to use hypnosis. Don't do any of that stuff. I've now got so good. Sorry to kind of boast, but I have now got so good. I don't even need to use those things. I just do it in a conversation with people. So let's get back to the story. This person I worked with had this problem, and they've been told, count 5 things, 4 things, 3, 2, 1, whatever. And they said, look, I don't want to get rid of it. So we worked out, I can't explain exactly how because I've done this in other videos. There's one where you can watch me doing a session with a client, so watch that if you want to know more. But we worked out that it came back to a time they were a child and they were actually scared that their parents were going to shout, because this is a fairly common thing, but again, it's not simple as just thinking, oh, is that what it is for me? You have to be more specific than that. But we worked out that when they were a child, they often expected the parents to shout. So every time the parent came in the room, they would tense up like this and they just expect them to be shouted at because the parents weren't bad, but they just got angry with them. That was what it was. And as soon as we did that, they started crying, because you see the crying, that's the problem coming out. Forget all this count 5 things and 4 things rubbish. The crying, the tears, that's the subconscious. If I said to you now, just in case people say, oh, I don't believe all this subconscious stuff. If I say to you, I want you to cry now, can you do it? Can you just make tears come out? Impossible. You can't do it. Right? It's a subconscious thing. Sometimes actors will think of sad things to make themselves cry. That's hypnosis in a way. Your subconscious is making you experience the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions that go with the memory, and you cry. So you see, when you drive and you're having a panic attack, the reason it makes no sense and conscious solutions won't work is it's not conscious, it's subconscious. You're remembering something from the past. So when this person drove, they were expecting their parents to shout at them. Now that sounds crazy because the parents aren't even alive anymore. So how could they shout to them? But you see, their mind, your mind as well, has no concept of time. So they were thinking, oh, I'm going to get shouted at, Now, exactly why that happens, we don't have to know. You don't need to know. Maybe they were expecting something to go wrong when they drove, and they expected something to go wrong as a kid. We don't have to get into all that. That's like what you call psychotherapy. You don't need all that. That's going beyond. It all confuses things. Forget the why. Let's just fix it. That memory, feeling, for whatever reason, was coming up. So we found it. And people often say, what do you do with it? Nothing. Because once you've found it, it does itself. You see, the thing is, the pain from that memory comes up, the emotion, the crying, the suffering, whatever you felt at that time comes up. Yes, it does help to have a therapist there, because sometimes just finding it won't be enough. There might be certain things about it that I know that I have to kind of think, oh, is that okay? Is that okay? Is that okay? We check it from different angles. But sometimes people say, well, I found the memory and I cried. It didn't work because you've missed something. Okay, it's not quite that simple. But often just finding the memory will release the emotion. Then what happens? They go off driving and they're not having a panic attack because the emotion that belonged back then has been released. So it's no longer being triggered. So when you drive, your mind is looking for that feeling, but it's gone because we released it. And it thinks, oh, there's nothing there. So you feel nothing, instead of the pain and the sorrow coming up and firing off. So if you've got panic attacks when you drive, that's most likely you've got something similar. Now that's just one example. Please understand, as I always say in these videos, every single person's problem is unique. You've all got a separate reason for your problem. It's not just this blanket, one size fits all, this fixes driving anxiety. Any courses you see like that, rubbish. Any group courses, rubbish. Because if you sit in a room in a group, how can you be talking to individuals when you're doing this mass group therapy? It doesn't work. You need to find your cause. And I wonder what your story is. If you'd like to find out by working with me one-to-one online, contact me through my website, firstdrive.com. Check out these other videos on the screen for more free help. And as always, I'll see you again soon for more videos.